You know, folks, I gotta admit, I talk this stuff day in and day out, even when the camera isn't rolling. There's so many times I'll be sitting around with my family and friends, and we'll start off a conversation with, "Well, I know you're tired of talking about this stuff. I know we don't want to talk politics, but," and then several hours later, we're still sitting there carrying on a conversation. But I'm not really complaining because all of that talking with family and friends and fellow content creators, I think it just helps strengthen the content and keeps me thinking and keeps me aware of everything that's going on. But one sentiment that I feel from everyone I talk to about politics these days is that everyone is so tired of talking about it. And they're so tired of talking about it because Donald Trump is absolutely exhausting. The way that he goes about playing politics and the way MAGA goes about playing politics truly will just take the wind right out of you. And so you really look for someone out there who will fight back. And I really do believe that that's why a lot of people started turning to independent media. I think that's why people started turning to content creators, someone who would stand up and swing and throw punches back at the establishment and not sit there and just take a beating from Donald Trump, because too many times we saw Democrats just roll over for Donald Trump or just try to play nice with him, and he's absolutely refusing to play nice. So anytime that people see someone fighting back, they're going to gravitate toward that because we're all so tired of doing the fighting ourselves. And so Gavin Newsom is someone who I've been watching and paying attention to for a long time. And for the most part, I've agreed with Gavin Newsom over the years. There's been a couple of times that I haven't, but that doesn't stop me from appreciating what he has done and the fight that he has now taken to Trump. And people are starting to see it, they're starting to get behind it, and they're starting to feel better about it, because we need more people that will fight, especially if they're going to put a D beside their name, call themselves a Democrat, call themselves progressive liberal, whatever label they're going to use. Then they also need to let us know that they're going to fight for us and not just always roll over. So I'm going to be playing you a couple of clips, and we're going to be talking about Gavin Newsom. But right here he is, just saying what we've been dying for someone to say, which is, it's time to take the gloves off and it's time to call out the bullshit. Take a look.
You know, gloves are off. Let's go. Enough. We're going to stand up. Truth. We're going to stand up for American people. We're going to stand up for people that are being bullied. We're going to have the backs of people that are scared. We're going to use our formal authority. I'm proud to be governor of the largest state in America. Again, I've said this before to you, 21 state populations combined. But we're also going to use our moral authority. And the extent we need to, we're also going to call out the bullshit and the propaganda and the weaponization of lies and mis and disinformation on networks like Fox. And we'll do it in every capacity. On behalf of the people I represent in the state, on an individual capacity, enough. It's time to assert ourselves much more forcefully, with character and conviction, and have the backs of people that don't have the voice that some of us have and the ability to do what some of us can do. And that's what this whole case is about. And we'll continue to stand tall, and we'll continue to power through this remarkable moment in history.
It's so good to hear him talking this way, and anytime someone talks this way, I'm going to be highlighting it, because we're so sick and tired of the way that Donald Trump has went about weaponizing the entire government against everyone who he disagrees with or he doesn't like what they have to say. You know, he went out there and he played the victim, and he said everyone was trying to weaponize the government against him, when in reality, he was simply being held accountable for the things that we saw him do. But then he immediately, when he got back into power and he had immunity for official acts, well, he's just went completely off the rails and is absolutely weaponizing the government. And you should absolutely stop and think for a minute. When someone says they have to have immunity in order to be able to do their job, they're going to turn and they're going to break every rule in the book to be against you. It's just the truth. And now we have, I looked this up, I saw different numbers, but the number that was the most out there was there is 23 former Fox News employees now in Trump's cabinet. So what we have, you know, they talk about state-ran media. Really now what we have is media-ran state. And they can go out there and they can say anything they want to say. They've been sued before for lying, and Gavin Newsom is suing them again. And I know that there's a lot of people in MAGA that are upset about this, but hey, Trump opened this door, so now it's your all's turn to be sued for making up stories. And Gavin Newsom talks about it in this next clip. Take a look.
You don't knowingly cover up and defame the character of someone else, particularly as you suggest at this critical moment. This was This was back and forth. I just want to remind people, let's just contextualize this exact moment. There are close to 5,000 troops, federalized troops on the streets of Los Angeles right now for no apparent purpose or reason. Thousands and thousands of them just sitting around for pure theater over the objections of the governor. They've been taken off the beat as local law enforcement. They've been pulled off the border where I had directed them to address the issue of counter narcotics and fentanyl interdiction. They've been pulled out of the wildland urban interface, meaning the work that they were doing. Hundreds of these National Guardsmen were protecting us from this year's fire season. They've been pulled off for Trump's folly. In the middle of all this back and forth, it's right to have the question, when did you talk to the governor? What did you talk to him about? It was the basis of litigation between the state of California and the Trump administration and federal court at the time. Fox could have easily just dismissed yet another lie from the Trump administration. Rather, they decided to knowingly cover it up and lie about this conversation. And they did it in a way that not only directly impacts the notion of truth and trust, but I was starting to get calls from folks, supporters of mine, friends of mine saying, why are you, Gavin, lying about the call with Trump? They apparently have the receipts. There was no receipts. It was edited, redacted. They knowingly and maliciously defamed, and they should be held to a higher level of ethical and journalistic standards.
So you got to remember that Donald Trump is suing ABC over George Stephanopoulos and the statement that he made, which was a true statement. But Donald Trump didn't like the wording of it, and so he went after ABC, and ABC always bows and kisses the ring. Then he also, Donald Trump, is suing 60 Minutes because of the Kamala Harris interview that he says was edited, and he calls that edit election interference. But here we have Fox News blatantly lying and defaming somebody, and Governor Newsom has every right to call them out for it. Because he has people, like he said, he has people, his own supporters calling saying, why did you say this? Well, the truth is they are lying on him. And so he has every right to defend himself. And anyone out there who is upset about Newsom suing Fox News, well, this is the door now that Donald Trump has opened. He sues anyone who disagrees with him. He sues anyone who speaks badly of him or expresses an opinion about him. What Newsom is doing is suing someone who has defamed him. So when people tries to come at me and compare these two things and say that Newsom is doing the same thing, I'm always going to argue, no, he's not, because what was said about Trump was true and what was said about Newsom was a lie. There is a drastic difference. But I want to play a clip here of the Marcellus brothers talking about Newsom and talking about how that so many of us just want someone who is willing to stand up and fight for us. This is a great clip. Take a look.
I just remember that scene at the tarmac where after Donald Trump would call Governor Newsom new scum and do all of that image of them right there together, Governor Newsom standing taller than Donald Trump and saying, I'm here. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And then Donald Trump had the opportunity, if he wanted to go and do his new scum routine, the cameras were there. The cameras were there. And so I like that Governor Newsom saying, look, come at me, tough guy. You want to arrest me? Come after me right now. I'm here to protect the people of the great state of California, while this Donald Trump keyboard warrior stuff, new scum this, new scum that. It's just, it's not adult behavior. Like, let's just pull a step back, right? Trump's not acting like a grown-up. If your boss behaved like that at a large, medium, small-sized company or a nonprofit, or even for fantasy football teams, right? If someone was like, hey, Alex Newsom, you'd be like, dude, why are you on my league? Like, what are you doing? like, get out. So why do we tolerate this behavior at the presidency level?
We've seen his numbers go way up, not only in popularity, but also in social media followers, as they've changed strategy, it seems like, in the last few weeks with his accounts going after Trump in an aggressive way.
Democrats came out of this election, and there's certainly a power vacuum, right? There's no sort of heir apparent. There is no, this person is the leader of the party. And quite frankly, I think a lot of our listeners are looking for who's that next person going to be. And the biggest question that they have is, who has my back? Who has my interests at heart? And I think Governor Newsom recognized this authentically, and he's come out swinging because Donald Trump picked a fight with him, and it was a fight that I think Governor Newsom was happy to take on. And boy, is he taking it on.
You know, the one thing that Ben said in that video is something I've said so many times here on the channel, which is there is no other place of business that you could work at. And like he said, even if it was a fantasy football league, if someone was talking to other people the way that Trump talks to people, you would call them out for it. It wouldn't be considered normal. Or if you called them out for it, you would also make fun of them for being so vain and so weak and having such a fragile ego. I'm a musician, have been for over 25 years. Trust me, I've met a lot of a lot of fragile egos in my day. I truly have. I have met musicians, I have met lead singers who wouldn't let me sing harmony because they didn't have the ability to sing harmony. And so they would say to me, well, no, if you sing harmony, then that'll make me look like I'm not as good as you are. And so I have been around egos my whole life, and I've called it out, but dude, we're in a band here. Let's both sing. Let's make this thing sound good. I've been surrounded by fragile egos, and I know one when I see it. And when Trump walks up and shakes Newsom's hand and Newsom is looking down at him, trust me, his ego is so fragile at that point because Newsom's taller. Newsom's gripping his hand, looking him dead in the eye, saying, hey, I'm right here, now say anything you want to say. And when Trump gets in front of somebody, he's just like his followers in that he is a keyboard warrior who wants to sit and say Newsom and say all this stupid shit. And then when he gets in front of them, he won't say a word. And I experience the same thing every day. I'll walk into the bar, sit down at the bar, and the guy down the bar, I'm pretty sure, is the guy behind a fake profile on Facebook with a bald eagle for a profile picture, been screaming shit at me all week. And hey, buddy, how you doing? And he never says a word. So I know exactly what that is like. But what we want to see is more people who are willing to fight for us and stand up because we've been fighting for so long. And the Midas Touch Network has been fighting for so long, and so many of their contributors and so many people out there have sat down and created platforms to fight back. And I've said before, sometimes I feel like we're doing the fighting and the politicians aren't. And so it's good to see Newsom standing up and swinging back and trolling Trump and giving him a dose of his own medicine. That's how you beat a bully. You stand up for what's right. You stand up for people. You tell people why, like Governor Andy Beshear said and like Governor Andy Beshear is doing. You stand up for people, you stand up for the truth, and you stand up against bullies, and you call out bullshit. And the more that this Trump administration hurts American people, and they're going to, and they are, the more pain and suffering that his own followers feel, the more people like Gavin Newsom is going to start to make a whole lot of sense to them.